I'm Gil Contreras, and welcome to the Gil Contreras program. I'm here today with Enrique Zepeda. Enrique is the president of eZEP Financial and Insurance Services, located in Hermosa Beach. Enrique, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you for having me on.
So listen, before we get into our discussion, I'm going to want to talk about some insurance instruments and some other investment opportunities that exist for people. And I'm going to want you to talk about those things in a moment, but just give us a quick background. Just give me a 30-second bio.
Sounds good. Obviously, my name is Enrique Zepeda. I'm the agency principal for eZEP Financial and Insurance Services. My business model is to improve financial literacy across our communities in order to empower the masses to create the right financial structure for themselves based on their individual needs.
Okay. So you deal with retirements, you deal with insurance, you deal with other type of investments, places to put money.
That is correct.
Okay. So I just want to let people know that the way I found you is I think most of my audience, at least I think, knows that in January of 2018, my father passed away. And my dad passed away from the 2017-2018 seasonal flu. It became pneumonia, which became ARDS, which put him on a ventilator, which ended his life. He was 85, I think. And so that left my mom, and the house and all that. And since 2018 to 2020, my mom has decided to downsize and sell her house, and so we did that, but we ended up with a bunch of money. The price of my mom's house in Canoga Park, they probably bought it for, I think it was $26,000 in 1969, and it sold for, I don't know, $750,000 or something like that, something crazy. This is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And so when we had this chunk of money, I asked my real estate agent, who you know, I said, I need someone that you trust with your money, and just someone that you would trust in helping put some of this money into different places. And she recommended you. And so we met, and I was, you did a presentation, you showed me a couple of options for my mom, and we ended up finding a really cool instrument that I really like. I want to talk about that later on in the program. But I just wanted people listening to know that that's how I found you. It wasn't, this isn't an infomercial. It's, I actually use you. I'm actually a client. And I'm actually interested in maybe even working in this industry, because I found you just a wealth of information, and I thought, man, this guy has a bunch of information that I've never heard, and I'm a pretty smart guy. I stay pretty well up to date on different things. I'm a news junkie, and you had some information I just hadn't heard before, and it was very helpful to my family. And so that's why I wanted to have an extended conversation with you and see if there's something we can pass on and put out there, and maybe other people will find it helpful and maybe reach out to you.
Thank you, Gil. Actually, it's funny that you say that, because when I met you, I definitely knew that you was a smart person, have done some research. And so my focus for you was just really to have a conversation, just ask questions in order to really understand what the needs were. Mm-hmm. And based on that information, and gave us the opportunity to put a well-thought case design specifically for your needs, and also was able to show you how one instrument itself, adjusted, could work different ways for different people.
Right.
And so that's the beauty of it, is that when it comes to finances and putting your money to work, it's not a cookie-cut system. It's really customized based on individuals and their needs, in order to really say, this is the vehicle that I've been looking for. This is exactly what I need it to do. Mm-hmm. It's going to do it's going to do what it's supposed to do when I need it to do, and so on. And so that was my number one priority for you, was that let's figure out really what the needs are, and let's figure out how we're going to implement the right strategy.
Right. And I think one of the things that puts people off from reaching out to a financial advisor is we see all these TV commercials, right? We're all over the internet. If you have cable, you have all these commercials. And as just a normal guy outside of the financial services, I watch all this and I go, okay, I don't understand it. I don't understand, it just all sounds like a sales pitch to me. Everybody sounds like a used car salesman to me. And that makes me want to back off. And, I was happy that when I met with you, I didn't have that feeling. I didn't have a feeling like I was talking to a used car sales guy who was trying to just make a sale. I thought you were trying to understand the position, what I was doing, and how I was trying to help my mom, what the long-term plan was for her money, and you ended up presenting the perfect instrument for us. But before we get into what's available to people, I want to back up a little bit, and I want to talk about the economy. Because, for anybody that has a 401k, an IRA, any of that stuff, if you're watching the market since Trump left the office, all you see is red. It's just been like a steady decline. And the situation in Ukraine now has caused even more chaos in the market. And it's a little bit scary. So what should people who have money in an IRA or a 401k, what should they be concerned about as we're watching stuff unfold over there in Europe?
Well, obviously the invasion, obviously in Ukraine, has added to already a tense year in our market. People are looking at it as like, what's next? Very unpredictable. And so what I always tell individuals when it comes to their individual retirement accounts, like their 401ks, RAs, they have to start paying attention. They have to be more engaged and understand what is their platform. Basically, what are the options that are available to them within their 401k or their IRA in order to make the necessary adjustments, because it's going to happen. The market is going to it's going to go through the roller coasters, but there's options within your 401k that allows you to shift your funds around, or the crediting way, your crediting methods, in order to safeguard your assets, because you shouldn't take the downturn of the market, right? Let's be fair. If the market is really doing horrible, okay, I'm okay with not making any money. Mm-hmm. But as an investor, you don't ever want to see your money be in the negative, right? So, but that happens because individuals too often are utilizing that out of sight, out of mind, belief. And when it comes to money, those days are over with. You have to start thinking a little bit more like an avid investor and really be engaged in order to safeguard and protect your money.
So if you're just an employee, say you work for a city or a county or a school district or something, and you have, they have a retirement system and money's going into it. So are you saying that the average person should be paying attention more to what's happening in the markets, what's happening globally, and how it's affecting the economies, because that eventually is going to affect their own personal bottom line?
Yeah, I believe they should, and because too often we think about like, well, what's happening on the other side of the world doesn't impact us.
Right.
And most people, and that's just, I don't want to say naiveness, but it's really just lack of information. But because the truth is that it does impact eventually. There is that ripple effect that eventually will hit our bottom line in our own individual pockets. So if you are that individual that doesn't understand and see the market, see the graphs, and it's all foreign to you, that's okay. What I do recommend is to talk to someone, talk to a professional. No mm-hmm. different that if you having some medical side effects or symptoms, you're going to seek professional advice from a doctor, right? You won't necessarily speak to your gardener or to the neighbor, but sometimes they do.
Right.
And when it comes to money, it should be the same way. But like you said earlier, is that who do you know who to reach out to? Because when it comes to money, it becomes more of an emotional connection versus a logical process. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the reasons why the average consumer doesn't get ahead financially, or it put themselves in a position where they don't understand what their options or resources are. So that truly just has to change. And I always recommend talk to someone, talk to a professional. When people come to me, I'll tell them, this is a non-obligated commitment. We're just having a conversation. Right. If I'm able to give you a piece of advice and that advice sits well with you, then we'll take it from there. If not, you at least got free information. So
people shouldn't be afraid of, when you look at the market and you see all the little acronyms, right? All the letters floating across, and like when I check the markets and I look and I go, it's all red. It just makes me crazy because I look at my IRA and I go, geez, we're not doing very well here. They shouldn't be intimidated by that, right? And it's kind of, you should know what they mean, know what you're buying, know where your money's invested, and then, but you do have to monitor it, right? You have to have these apps and I use the online apps, but you have to monitor what's going on. That's what I find. You just have to monitor what's going on in the economy, with the government, the decisions that they're making, what the World Banks are doing, because all of that has an effect on my own personal bottom line. And I know that now at this age in a way that I didn't really understand in my 30s and 40s. Can you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, actually, Gil, that is correct. People should be paying attention. People should understand at least the basics, because every platform, it's all part of the learning experience. In the beginning, it can be intimidated, but it's one of those things that the more you pay attention, the more you want to involve yourself in the process, and and have that self-education on what things are and how they work. It becomes a little bit more clear, and it all starts making sense, and you're able to start connecting the dots. You'd be surprised of how many people come to me because they wanted me to review their IRA, their 401k. And the first thing I said, bring me a couple of your quarterly statements. Let's take a look at them. I'll teach you how to read your statements because the average consumer doesn't. And you'd be surprised how many people bring me these statements and their envelopes are still sealed. So clearly they're getting them in the mail and they're just putting them off to the side,
Right.
and they're not paying attention. But when it comes to their personal checkings or savings account, they know the ins and outs. They even have an app and they're constantly monitoring.
Right.
But I always tell them the money, when it comes to a retirement, that's the money that you need to be engaged, because the reality is that there's going to be a point in time because of age and health that you just have to hang it up, and you can no longer start, you can no longer exchange time for income, and that's when you're going to rely on that hard-earned income or savings that you've put aside. And the worst thing that could happen to someone is that you get to that point and you realize that, one, you don't have what you thought you were going to have, or it doesn't do what you was hoping it was going to do for you.
I think most people don't even think about that, right? I think most people don't think, well, when I stop working, I'll be retired, I'll just be getting a monthly check. And I think that's all they think about. I don't think they ever think, is it going to be enough? Am I going to be able to cover expenses? Am I going to need anything else? Am I going to need to supplement in some way? What's your experience in dealing with folks as they, as they're hitting that age and pulling the pin from different agencies or whatever? Are they surprised at how much money they have or don't have at the end?
I think they're definitely surprised. Most people are getting close to retirement, or they're hitting that age or date of retirement, and they quickly realize that what they're going to get is not enough. It's nowhere near what they were anticipating. So some individuals actually have to stay on the workforce for a couple additional years just to be able to supplement the difference, because what most people don't understand is that when you stop working, if you're only relying on Social Security or pension, those programs are designed to give you a percentage of your linear income. And sometimes consumers think, well, what I make 100% of my linear income isn't enough now. How can a fraction of that be enough during retirement when you factor in the cost of inflation, possibly medical expenses and whatnot? The old way of thinking where people believe that they were going to work to the day they die, it's a myth. It's not the reality. People are getting sick, people are becoming disabled, and more individuals are being forced into early retirement, but yet the responsibilities are still there. People are buying homes in their later years. So when they retire, they still have, 10, 15 years of mortgage, but their income is not the same. So it's been impacted. And so individuals, they don't fear death anymore in their later years. Their biggest concern right now is that they don't want to outlive their money. So what they should start thinking of is like, how much income am I going to need on a monthly basis to live in month in and month out for the rest of my life comfortably? But most people haven't even been able to identify it or even put a number to that, because sometimes when in the old days we would give it a large sum, like how much money do you need? Is it $250,000? Is it $1 million? And for the average consumer, that seemed like a lot of money because they've never had that much amount of money at one given time. But if you break it down and keep it a little bit more simple and give it a monthly amount, then it becomes a little bit more realistic. And then you're able to back engineer as to, well, how much money do I need to save? How much interest do I need to be earning? What is the shortfall between what I'm going to get for my pension or my Social Security that I'm responsible for, and so on.
So it seems to me that people are kind of lost between, there's two kind of classes. I think like there's the homeowners, with probably pretty decent jobs, or homeowners with a job that belongs to some kind of union, and that's like one group. And then I think there's another group of Americans that don't work for an agency, and don't necessarily even have a retirement program, right? And I think those folks are so busy working day to day that they don't even think like if you ask some Latinos, they say, oh, I don't have time to think about that. I just got to do this today. I got to do this tomorrow. This is what I have to focus on. What happens when I'm 50 or 60, that's something else. How do you get people to get past that kind of barrier there?
You're right, Gil. I think that most individuals, we're so aware about the now because the reality is that we have the responsibilities today. And so the average person, they're thinking, I just need to get past what I got to take care of what I got to take care of today. I'll worry about my future. I'll worry about retirement when I'm getting ready to cross that bridge.
Right.
That's really the mindset.
Right.
And so what we need to understand is that you don't have to sacrifice the later for the now. And instead, we need to find that happy medium. And that's where, and the only way that you're able to do so is by really taking a look at what's going on in your world. And what's my income? Is there a possibility for additional income to give me additional resources? Is it budgeting myself? Is it living, truly understanding that you have to live within your means in order to say, okay, I got to take care of my the now, but I'm not going to forfeit my future or my retirement because I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. And so it's just more about giving the ability and the information to someone to change their perspective because the individuals, we're thinking based on the information that we have now available to us, and that's our operating system. And so in order to change that money blueprint, you have to change your operating system as well. And the way that you do so is by personal growth. It really starts. You can't change anything about your financial structure if first you don't learn to change yourself, which is personal growth, in order to identify opportunities.
So that's information, right? They have to access information.
Information.
Like anybody who hears this, wherever they happen to be, whatever income bracket they happen to be, whether they work for an agency or not, whether they have retirement accounts or not, they have to be thinking about this, right? They have to be thinking about what's happening. Like let's just say, the economy. Since President Biden took office, the economy has been in steady decline, and I'm a watcher of the markets. We have some money in there, both my wife and I, and I've seen a steady decline, and it scares me. And I remember during the Obama administration when people first started talking about hyperinflation and devaluing the dollar. I even remember in an interview with President Obama, I remember him saying that he thought that we should, in order to address the debt of the nation, that we should just let it all collapse. And they wanted to start a new currency similar to the euro called the Amero. And it was going to be South America, North America, and Canada. And it was going to have one currency. And, thank goodness that idea went away. But it was during the Obama administration when I first started to hear this. I first started to hear people say, the value of the dollar is going down, inflation is going up, taxes are rising, the economy is not growing the way it should, and I'll grant you that he inherited a mess after the 2008-2009 recession. But in spite of that, we still saw this decline. And that was the first time I ever heard people talking about, oh, you better have food, you better have water, you better have guns, you better have ammunition, you better prep. All of a sudden, prepping was the thing in some circles, And so now we have the Biden administration. The economy's been in steady decline since he took office. And now now you're seeing the rising gas prices. And of course, in California, voters did it to themselves, by defeating Prop 6, which would have put a cap on them. And we actually would have got a refund for being overcharged in 2017. And people voted against that. They want higher taxes here, apparently. So the fuel prices are higher in California anyway because of the taxes and all the different fees that they take out. Plus, they defeated Prop 6. So now gas was already going up. Now with this Russian invasion of Ukraine, I've heard talk yesterday about $7 a gallon for gas. How is all this affecting us, and why should I care?
Well, it's affecting you. I mean, definitely it's affecting you because it's inflation. Hyperinflation, obviously, it's when inflation rises above 50%. And we've had an increase right now where we're at 7.5. However, there's a possibility now with the invasion. We've seen the prices of gas go up. Inflation could, in a lot of the Western economies, could hit close to 10%. And so that is the big pocket, because when it comes from a savings or investment standpoint, you want your money to at least be able to keep up with the cost of inflation. The national average for a very long time was 4%. So we always kind of preach that if your money isn't at least keeping up with the cost of inflation, then your money is going to be worth less tomorrow than what it is today, right? As far as the dollar, seeing a collapse, unlikely. Inflation increase, absolutely. We have, as Americans, too important of a customer to a lot of the foreign exporters like China and Japan. So there's no really vested interest in anyone seeing the dollars, collapse, and hopefully it never comes down to it. But as when it comes to administrations, they're going to come and go, and there's always going to be in power. There's always going to be an increase in jobs. There's going to be a decrease. There's going to be an inflation in national debt, including personal and public debt, or a decrease. And that's just the reality of the nature of the beast. But with most individuals, on an individual base, we need to start focusing as to inflation is going to happen, taxes is going to happen. And so how do you put yourself in a position to protect? And it's really by understanding what you're doing, what's available to you. And if know that these uncertainties are happening, then I need to make sure that my money is keeping up with the trend, whether it be on an upswing or a downswing. I want to make sure that I'm benefiting from it, because in every market, there's also an opportunity. When the market takes a hit, there's opportunities to buy and and take this and benefit from the swing up. It's also important.
But boy, to do that, you have to really know. You have to really be watching.
And that's the thing.
And know the fundamentals of the different companies. Who's coming up and why they would be coming up versus who's down there and going to stay down there.
Correct.